Dawn of Invincible Ambition. June 4th, 1942. For 30 hours, northwest of Midway Atoll, the vast Pacific stretches black and endless under a thin veil of cloud. Aboard the flagship Akagi, Admiral Nagumo stands on the bridge, eyes fixed on the horizon. The air hums with the roar of engines as Zero fighters and WWII bombers climb into the dawn sky. 4 carriers, Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, Hiryu, form the heart of the first air fleet, WWII, the most powerful concentration of naval air power the world has ever seen. Below decks, pilots gulp down a hasty breakfast, laughing, confident. They have crushed the British at Ceylon, sunk American battleships at Pearl Harbor. Midway will be next, a tiny speck of coral guarding Hawaii. Take it! Lure the remaining U.S. carriers into a trap, and Japan's empire across the Pacific will be secure forever. On the flight decks, deck crews in color-coded jerseys swarm like ants. Propellers spin. Catapults hiss. One by one, 108 aircraft thunder into the air, bound for Midway's airfields. Nagumo watches them disappear toward the southeast, satisfied. His second wave, armed with torpedoes for the expected American ships, waits patiently below. Far behind, Admiral Yamamoto steams with the main body, battleships, including the colossal Yamato. He is quiet this morning. Intelligence has whispered of possible American carriers nearby, but Nagumo's scouts report nothing. The ocean is empty. The plan is perfect. At 6:30, the first strike reaches Midway. Bombs fall. Runways crater. Hangars erupt in flame. The Defender's fighters rise valiantly, but are shredded by the escorting Zeros. The strike leader radios back. Enemy air strength weak. Recommend second strike. Nagumo nods. A second attack on Midway's defenses will ensure smooth landings tomorrow. He orders the reserve aircraft below, those armed with torpedoes meant for ships, to be rearmed with bombs. The switch begins, and in that moment, unseen, 3 American carriers, Enterprise, Hornet, Yorktown, lurk just beyond the horizon, their own strike already airborne. The hunters have become the hunted. The first cracks in the armor. 7:05 hours. Aboard Akagi, the morning sun climbs higher, glinting off the waves as the last of the returning strike aircraft circle overhead. Nagumo stands motionless on the bridge wing. Binoculars press his eyes. The pilots wave triumphantly as they touch down, WWII bombers and K-torpedo bombers rolling to a stop amid cheers from the deck crews. Smoke still trails from gun muzzles after shooting down a few stubborn American fighters. Below, in the crowded hangar decks, the rearming proceeds in frantic rhythm. Torpedoes are lowered back into magazines. High explosive bombs are hoisted up, fused, and wheeled into place beneath the wings of the reserve Kates. Fuel hoses snake across the floor, aviation gasoline pumping into tanks. The air is thick with the sharp stench of fuel and cordite. You can almost feel the confidence radiating through the ship. Officers clap pilots on the back. Laughter echoes in the ready rooms. This is the same fleet that humiliated the Americans at Pearl Harbor. Midway's defenses are crumbling. One more strike, and the island will be ripe for invasion. Then at 7:40, a late scout plane from the cruiser Tone breaks the comm. The pilot's voice crackles over the radio. Enemy task force sighted bearing 010 degrees, distance 180 miles. Nagumo lowers his binoculars. The bridge falls silent. American ships. But what kind? Carriers? The report is incomplete. No mention of aircraft carriers. Only surface ships. Nagumo hesitates. His reserve aircraft are half rearmed for land attack. Switching back to torpedoes will take precious time. He orders the scout to maintain contact and report details. Minutes drag like hours. At 8:20, the same pilot radios again, voice tense. Enemy force accompanied by what appears to be a carrier. The words hit like a shell. 1 American carrier confirmed. Perhaps more. And their aircraft, where are they? Unseen, 153 Dauntless dive bombers, Devastator torpedo bombers, and Wildcat fighters from Enterprise, Hornet, and Yorktown are already clawing through the clouds, searching for the Japanese fleet. Nagumo's perfect morning has fractured. He issues the order. sees rearming with bombs. Switch back to torpedoes. Immediately, but the decks are already chaos. Bombs stacked beside aircraft, fuel lines exposed, ordnance scattered. And high above, unseen shadows begin to converge. Hell descend from the sky. 10-20 hours. The Pacific sky is a brilliant, merciless blue. On Akagi's bridge, Nagumo paces. The rearming is still underway. Torpedoes now being frantically attached again, bombs hastily shoved aside on the hangar decks. Fuel lines remain connected. Ordnance litters every corner. Zero fighters orbit overhead, their tanks nearing empty after hours of combat air patrol. Then a lookout screams, "Enemy dive bombers!" High overhead. Heads snap upward. From 20,000 feet, Lieutenant Commander Clarence Wade McClusky's Dauntless from Enterprise tip over into near-vertical dives. Sunlight flashes on their wings as they plummet toward Akagi and Kaga, screaming like banshees. You feel the deck shudder as the first bombs miss, sending towering geysers of white water alongside. Then the neck sticks. A 1,000-pound bomb punches straight through Akagi's flight deck amid parked aircraft. It detonates deep inside the hangar, igniting aviation fuel and touching off secondary explosions among the stacked torpedoes and bombs. Flames roar upward, orange and black against the morning light. On Kaga, 3 bombs strike almost simultaneously. One tears into the bridge, killing Captain Jisaku Okada and most of his staff instantly. Another explodes among fueled and armed aircraft on the upper hangar deck. In seconds, the entire ship is wrapped in an inferno. Soryu, turning desperately, takes 4 direct hits in quick succession. Her deck erupts in a chain of blasts that hurl aircraft and men into the sea. Crewmen run with hoses, faces blackened by smoke. Damage control parties fight hopeless battles as fire mains rupture and pressure fails. The heat is unbearable. Ammunition cooks off in rapid, thunderous bursts. Aboard Akagi, Nagumo stands amid the chaos on the flag bridge, uniform singed, refusing to leave. His chief of staff, Rear Admiral Kasaka, finally grabs his arm. "Admiral, we must transfer to another ship." Below, the once proud flight deck buckles and melts. The red rising sun insignia warps in the heat. In minutes, mere minutes, the heart of the Kido Butai is burning uncontrollably. Only Hiryu, steaming north, remains untouched. For now, the last Defiant strike. 14:30 hours. Smoke columns rise thousands of feet into the sky, marking the graves of Akagi, Kaga, and Soryu like funeral pyres on the horizon. Only Hiryu remains, her decks miraculously clear, her air group intact. Captain Tomio Kaku and Rear Admiral Taman Yamaguchi, commanding the 2nd Carrier Division, refuse to accept defeat. Their scouts have located the American force. Yorktown steaming at the center. Yamaguchi's voice is steel over the radio. "Launch everything. All aircraft attack the enemy carrier." In minutes, Hiryu's flight deck erupts into disciplined fury. 18 Val dive bombers under Lieutenant Michio Kobayashi rise first, escorted by 6 sleek Zeros. 40 minutes later, 10 Kate torpedo bombers under Lieutenant Hajiro Abe thunder into the sky. The pilots know this is likely their final flight. Many bow toward the burning carriers before takeoff. No one speaks of return. At 1700 hours, Kobayashi's Vals spot Yorktown through scattered cloud. They roll into their dives. Anti-aircraft fire blossoms black around them. 3 Vals are torn apart mid-dive, but the rest bore in relentlessly. 3 bombs slam into Yorktown's flight deck. Flames leap from her stack. Her engines falter. Black smoke pours skyward as her crew races to contain the fires. Aboard Hiryu, cheers ring out when the strike leader reports success. Enemy carrier burning fiercely, but the celebration is brief. American scout planes have already found Hiryu. 24 Dauntless from Enterprise, led by Lieutenant Earl Gallagher, streak northward at wave-top height to avoid radar. Behind them come more from Yorktown's still operational air group. At 17:03, the lookouts aboard Hiryu spot them too late. Dive bombers tip over and scream down. 4 1,000-pound bombs smash into Hiryu's deck in rapid succession. One detonates amid parked aircraft. Another rips open the forward elevator. Fires rage uncontrollably from bow to stern. Yamaguchi stands on the bridge with Captain Kaku. Neither man moves to abandon ship. As flames close in, they tie themselves to the compass stand, facing the rising sun. Hiryu's final signal flickers across the airwaves. All aircraft launched, proceeding to attack. The fourth and final carrier begins her death throes. The last Defiant strike, 1430 hours. Smoke columns rise thousands of feet into the sky, marking the graves of Akagi, Kaga, and Soryu like funeral pyres on the horizon. Only Hiryu remains, her decks miraculously clear, her air group intact. Captain Tomio Kaku and Rear Admiral Taman Yamaguchi, commanding the 2nd Carrier Division, refuse to accept defeat. Their scouts have located the American force. Yorktown steaming at the center. Yamaguchi's voice is still over the radio. Launch everything. All aircraft attack the enemy carrier. In minutes, Hiryu's flight deck erupts into disciplined fury. 18 Val dive bombers under Lieutenant Michio Kobayashi rise first, escorted by 6 sleek Zeros. 40 minutes later, 10 K torpedo bombers under Lieutenant Hajiro Abe thunder into the sky. The pilots know this is likely their final flight. Many bow toward the burning carriers before takeoff. No one speaks of return. At 1700 hours, Kobayashi's Vals spot Yorktown through scattered cloud. They roll into their dives. Anti-aircraft fire blossoms black around them. 3 Vals are torn apart mid-dive, but the rest born relentlessly. 3 bombs slam into Yorktown's flight deck. Flames leap from her stack. Her engines falter. Black smoke pours skyward as her crew races to contain the fires. Aboard Hiryu, cheers ring out when the strike leader reports success. Enemy carrier burning fiercely. But the celebration is brief. American scout planes have already found Hiryu. 24 Dauntless from Enterprise, led by Lieutenant Earl Gallagher, streak northward at wave-top height to avoid radar. Behind them come more from Yorktown's still operational air group. At 1703, the lookouts aboard Hiryu spot them too late. Dive bombers tip over and scream down. From Invincible Armada to flaming Wreckage. June 5, 1942. Dawn breaks cold and gray over sea strewn with debris. The once mighty Kido Butai is no more. Akagi, her hull gutted by unstoppable fires, rolls heavily as damage control parties finally give up the fight. At 1925 the previous evening, Captain Tajiro Aoki gave the order to abandon ship. Admiral Nagumo, face streaked with soot, was among the last to leave, transferred to the destroyer Nowaki under protest. Torpedoes from Arashur and Hajike's in Akagi's agony shortly after sunrise, sending the flagship to the depths in a final roar of bubbles and steam. Kaga and Soryu had already slipped beneath the waves hours earlier, their crews clinging to rafts and wreckage, watching oil slicks burn on the surface. Hiryu lingers longest. Through the night her men battle the inferno, but by morning the fires reach her magazines. At 5:10, a massive explosion tears her apart from within. Admiral Yamaguchi and Captain Kaku go down with her, standing erect on the bridge as the carrier lifts and plunges bow first into the Pacific. Far to the west, Admiral Yamamoto receives the cascading reports in the armored citadel of Yamato. His face is stone. The architect of Pearl Harbor, the man who warned Japan could run wild for 6 months, perhaps a year, before America woke, now stares at the irreversible truth. For fleet carriers lost. Over 300 aircraft gone. The flower of Japan's naval aviation. Pilots trained over years, irreplaceable, vanished in a single day. Yamamoto issues the order no Japanese commander has ever given in modern war: general retreat. The invasion force bound from Midway turns back. The Aleutians diversion continues, but it is hollow. The strategic initiative in the Pacific has shifted forever. On the American carriers, exhausted crews cheer as the news spreads. Yorktown, damaged or afloat, is taken in tow. Enterprise and Hornet steam away unscathed, their air groups bloodied but victorious. In minutes, mere minutes on that fateful morning, the Invincible Armada became flaming wreckage. Japan's naval supremacy, built with such painstaking pride, shattered beyond repair. The road to Guadalcanal, Saipan, Leyte Gulf, and ultimately Tokyo Bay begins here, amid the smoke and silence of a graveyard at sea. Subscribe for more World War stories. And hit the like button for motivational. Your one click on subscribe, and give me motivation. Thanks.